Kristen, and this is a spring summer cheap slash free book haul. This first stack that I have here that I'm going to show you is a stack of books that my sister was unhauling and so offered to me, um, and I took. So first up we've got This Winter by Alice Oseman. This is centering around the characters Tori, Charlie, and Oliver Spring. Tori is the main character in Alice Oseman's other novel Solitaire, and Charlie is one of the main characters in the Heartstopper graphic novel series, and then Oliver is their younger brother. So this is a novella set at like Christmas time, over the Christmas holidays, I think. Um, yeah, I think it'll be really short, quick to read. I really like the Heartstopper graphic novels. I didn't love Solitaire, but I like Tori as a character in the Heartstopper stories. So I'm looking forward to getting to this. It's a very short one. I think I will read it around Christmas time. It'll be even quicker to read because some of the pages are illustrations, some of them are done in like text message format. Um, so yeah, I think it will be a quick one to get through. My sister said it's quite serious. Solitaire and Heartstopper both deal with mental health issues and stuff with their characters. So I don't know that this will be a fun Christmassy read, but I do like the characters, so hopefully I will enjoy it. This one she had a duplicate copy of, so that's why she was getting rid of it. Next up we have The Couple Next Door by Shari Lapena. This is about a couple of couples who are having like a dinner party, and one of the couples has a new baby, like 6 months old, I think, and they don't want to take her to this dinner party. They want to have sort of a night off, so they leave her in the house. They take the baby monitor with them. They go and keep checking back on her because she's only next door. And they think if they have the baby monitor, they check on her every half hour, it will be okay. But then when they go to check on her at one point, the baby is gone. So yeah, it's just a domestic thriller. My sister enjoyed it. She liked it quite a lot, but she just wasn't going to reread it. I think they're making a TV show of this coming out soon, but I'm intrigued to read it. I think it'll be a thriller that I can maybe get through quite quickly. Next we have Mouth to Mouth. This is one I think her friend gave to her and then she decided she wasn't going to read. I'm not fully sure what it's about. Alone on the beach one morning, Jeff notices a swimmer drowning in the rough surf. He rescues and resuscitates the unconscious man and quietly leaves when the emergency services take over. But Jeff can't let go of the events of that traumatic day, and he begins to feel compelled to learn more about the man whose life he saved. Upon discovering it was a renowned millionaire art dealer, Jeff begins to visit his gallery, eventually applying for a job there. Although Francis doesn't seem to recognise Jeff, he soon takes him under his wing, initiating him into a world of unimaginable power and wealth. Jeff finds himself seduced by the life. He pursues a deeper connection with Francis until morals become expendable and their relationship becomes ever darker, leaving Jeff finally to wonder, should he have just let Francis drown? I'm like partially intrigued and partially not. I think my sister's friend said she actually DNF'd this. I think I'll give it a go, and if I'm not loving it, I'll DNF it. Because I feel like this could be one that either takes me ages to read or I whiz through, and I feel like it's either or, there's no in between. So we will see. Then I have How Beautiful We Were by Mbolo Mbiu. This is set in a fictional African village, a story of people living in fear amidst environmental degradation wrought by an American oil company. So I think this is about colonialism, capitalism, fighting back, environmentalism, and like generational sacrifice, and yeah, how environment has changed over generations and what people are willing to do for their land. I just thought it sounded really intriguing. My sister's not big into like literary fiction, but I am getting more into that. So I think this is more of a me book than it is a her book. I think this cover's so pretty. So I'm excited to get to this one. Then we have The Startup Wife by Tamima Anam. Again, don't really know what this one's about. She got some of these in like book boxes, and yeah, read them and they weren't really for her, but that's fine. So this one says, halfway through her PhD and already dreaming of running her own lab, computer scientist Asha has her future all mapped out. Then a chance meeting and whirlwind romance with her old high school crush, Cyrus, changes everything. Dreaming big together with their friend Jules, they come up with a revolutionary idea to build a social networking app that could bring meaning to millions of lives. While Asha creates an ingenious algorithm, Cyrus's charismatic appeal throws him into the spotlight. When the app explodes into the next big thing, Asha should be happy, shouldn't she? But why does she feel invisible at the boardroom table of her own company? Why are decisions being made without her? Gripping, witty, and razor sharp, The Startup Wife is a blistering novel about big ambitions, speaking out and standing up for what you believe in. This sounds really interesting to me. I really love books about women and their impact on their lives, other people's lives, and something like this sounds like it will deal with sexism in the workplace. And while that's frustrating to read about, I think it can be really interesting, especially when there's like the mix of romance and business. I feel like it could get messy, and I'm here for a bit of mess. Next up, she gave me her copy of Beautiful World, Where Are You? I own this in paperback because I didn't realise she was going to give this to me. But this is a beautiful hardcover. I love the colour combination of the blue and the yellow. I'm not sure if I'll keep this or not. It depends how much I love it. But otherwise, could give this to my mum or one of my friends or something. I love Sally Rooney. I've read Conversations with Friends and Normal People. Give Conversations with Friends 5 stars, Normal People 4 stars. Thought they were both great. This is about a group of young, like 20s friends and them worrying about friendships, relationships, sex. Sounds like it will have a messy friend dynamic. That's what a lot of Sally Rooney's books are about. But yeah, I'm interested to get to this one in whatever format I read it in. And then lastly, we have from my sister, I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. This is a true crime book about the Golden State Killer. So Michelle McNamara became really interested in the Golden State Killer and finding out who it was, because for ages, for years, Golden State Killer, no one knew who he was. I think he was around in the 70s or 80s, perhaps. The 80s in West Coast America. And he just did such horrible things to his victims, and got away with it until only the past few years they actually found who he was. But this was written before, and Michelle McNamara actually died before finishing this book. So there's an introduction by Gillian Flynn and an afterword by Patton Oswalt, who was Michelle McNamara's husband. And so this is, I think, just Michelle McNamara's account of her looking into this, and her examinations on the case and her research on the case. This was finished. Book was completed after the author's death by her lead researcher and a close colleague. But I'm interested in true crime, not as much as I used to be. I used to be very into true crime podcasts and stuff, but I sort of fell away from that a bit. But I would like to read this out of interest. Next up, we have charity shop books. These are all books I bought in charity shops recently. So first up, we have The Slow Regard of Silent Things, which I've not taken the label off yet. This is a novella set in Patrick Rothfuss's Kingkiller Chronicles world, about one of the characters. So I won't say too much about it because I don't know how much impact it has with the main books in that series so far. But it's about character Ori, and her life is full of mystery. And so this is like a fantasy novella. Then we have Red Seas Under Red Skies and The Republic of Thieves by Scott Lynch. This is book 2 and 3 in the series The Lies of Locke Lamora. I have not read the first book. I do not own the first book, but I found these two, and it's been a series I've always wanted to read. And I sort of figured, while I found books 2 and 3 for 99p each in like almost perfect condition, I wasn't going to turn my nose up at that. I did hunt for book 1. They didn't have it, or they hadn't put it out. Maybe someone had already bought it, or whoever donated these didn't donate the first book. I don't know. But yeah, this follows a character called Locke Lamora, who's somewhat of a pirate, I think, a con artist, and I think there's just like political intrigue, heists, pirating, thievery, hijinks. I thought it sounded interesting. I want to read the series, so I will get book 1 at some point so I can start it. Next up, we have Sister Song by Lucy Holland. Again, I forgot to take the price of these. This is such a stunning cover. This is, I think, a mythology retelling. It says, King Kedor's children inherit a war-torn land abandoned by the Romans. Reva can cure others but can't heal her scars. Cain battles to be seen as the king's son, although born a daughter. Sin yearns for love, longing for adventure, and all three fear a life trapped within their hold as the Saxons advance. So, like, historical, I guess. However, change arrives with Myrddin, a meddler and magician. As the siblings awake to their dormant powers, fate also brings them Tristan, a warrior who could herald joy or despair. They'll all face treachery and heartbreak as they fight for their dreams. I love things like this. It's been blurbed by Jennifer Saint, who wrote Ariadne, which I loved. It's been blurred by Genevieve Gornichek, who wrote The Witch's Heart, which I recently read and loved, and Hannah Witten, who wrote For the Wolf, which I've got on my TBR, and I'm very excited to read. So this sounds like it will be right up my alley. And again, beautiful. Then we have Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead. This is such a pretty cover. I love the colour scheme. This one I've heard so much about. I've been wanting to read for ages. This, I think, takes place in like 2 timelines. So we've got a character in the past, like wartime. It says wartime London, who is a pilot and is obsessed with flight and wanting to navigate the globe from pole to pole. But she crash lands in a perilous wilderness of ice, and then years later, over half a century later, there is a film being made about that tale. So we see Marion Graves, the pilot, in her time, and then we see Hadley Baxter, who's playing Marion Graves, in her time years later, and we flip between the two stories. I've heard such good things about this. I think it sounds so interesting. It was shortlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction in 2022, which is why I heard so much hype around it. But I heard great things. And shortlisted for the 2021 Booker Prize as well. So yeah, excited. Then we have Circe by Madeline Miller. Madeline Miller is the author of The Song of Achilles, which I read and loved a few years ago. This follows Circe and is a retelling of the tale of Circe. So Circe is a witch, I believe, and she is seen as a threat to the gods and is sort of mistreated, and it's all about her. It says Circe's tale is a vivid epic of family rivalry, love and loss, the inextinguishable song of a woman burning hot and bright in the darkness of a man's world. Love a mythology retelling, as I feel like I've established. So yes, excited to get to this one. See if I enjoy it as much as I enjoyed The Song of Achilles. And lastly, we have Water Shall Refuse Them by Lucy McKnight Hardy. This really intrigued me because of the cover, and then I read the premise, and it sounded familiar. I feel like I've read this premise before. But it says the heatwave of 1976, following the accidental drowning of her sister, 16-year-old Nif and her family moved to a small village on the Welsh borders to escape their grief. But rural seclusion doesn't bring any relief. As her family unravels, she begins to put together her own form of witchcraft, collecting talismans from some bleached land. That is, until she meets Mally, a teen boy who takes a keen interest in her and has his own secret rites to divulge. So this is an atmospheric coming-of-age novel that's like a folk horror. I don't think I've read any folk horror before, but this sounds really intriguing. I also wanted to read it because the weather here recently has been very hot. It's been very sunny, very hot for England. And so reading that this was set during a heat wave, I feel like if I read it now, I'll get like swept up in the atmosphere, which I think is always quite fun when you read a book at like the right feeling time. So yeah, intrigued to get to this one. So that was it. It's a lot of books, but I got most of them for very cheap and some of them for free. Yeah, I'm intrigued about all of them to various levels, but I do want to read them all. So yeah, looking forward to reading these, and I'm sure some of them will appear in various vlogs and things. Let me know if you've read any of them, what you thought, and I will see you soon with another video. Bye!